Hey there and welcome back to the Superheroes playlist. And today we are going to be talking about the character who is one among the Avengers, one who sacrificed her life for getting the Soul Stone, one who's been in the MCU since the earliest Iron Man movies, and finally the one whose story was still a mystery in the MCU. Well guys, today we are going to be talking about the Black Widow, aka Natasha Romanoff. Well, before we start, let's have a quick recap of this movie. The story precisely relates back to the Soviet Union, where it's a period where the Russians, under the leadership of General Drakov, are working on the Widows program. That is a process where young girls are put into a very severe, harsh training program, going through physical and mental distortion, which can even result in the death of those girls. And FYI, General Drakov being the evil plot in this movie. Now, as we know about the two agencies of MCU, the Hydra and the Shield, and as the story is that Hydra infiltrated the Shield, making it susceptible to threats. Now, as we get into the characters of the movie, well, Natasha's parents are, well, in fact, surrogate parents are Melina and Alexei. Alexei being the Red Guardian, some sort of other superhero whose history again ranges back in a way as Captain America's, and he says that he's the first Soviet Russian super soldier. So as it turns out to be, Alexei the Red Guardian and General Drakov became allies during their time in Soviet armed forces. And so General Drakov sends Alexei on an undercover mission in Ohio. So now you might understand the best of relation between all of the characters. So here it goes. In 1992, when the Red Guardian is sent by General Drakov to Ohio to infiltrate and destroy the Hydra-occupied North Institute within the Shield, he's provided with a family which includes Natasha, her sister, and Melina, just so because there shouldn't be any suspicion. Well, for this insurgency, the Shield is all behind Alexei. And so they all flee to Cuba, where Natasha and her sister are taken to the Red Room and eventually evolve as widows. Further, as per the timeline, after graduating from the Red Room, there have been lots of events in the MCU involving Natasha, which will definitely be discussed later in this video. But right now, talking about the movie, the latter part of the movie is that Natasha has got some dose of medicine called the Red Dust, which can bring any widow back to their mental stabilization. And further, we also come to know that Drakov did not die in the very first place when Natasha tried to blow him up in the building, and that he's behind Natasha to seize that medicine and kill her. Well, definitely at the end, after a whole lot of not really exciting action scenes, Natasha's family is able to kill Drakov and bring an end to the Inhuman Widow program, and that's how the movie ends. Well, moving further, I'd like to say what I thought of this movie. So, definitely, first things first. Now, as it seems so that this movie's come really late for talking about. I mean, Natasha has been in the MCU since the earliest of its movies, and still nobody had a clue as to what her origin and story was. So, what I think is that this was just some sort of formality for Marvel to release this movie slash character under a lot of fan pressure. And there are reasons why I am saying this. Because Marvel just made a digital release of this movie, and though I haven't seen Shang-Chi yet, but the fan review says it all. That Shang-Chi had the best of action scenes you've come across any Marvel movies yet. And it really makes me feel awful that I can download Shang-Chi on my phone right away and explore it. Yeah, literally, it makes me feel awful that I can download Shang-Chi right away on my phone. But what good of me if I don't watch it on the big screen wearing those 3D goggles? Perhaps it can be the most annoying thing to wear. Another layer on your lifelong glasses. Anyway, that's the least I can do to support such an amazing production over what my piracy habits have always been. And here's an interesting fact. What's the difference between Wonder Woman and Black Widow? Hashtag only wrong answers expected. Yeah, we'll try and give it a thought. So here's the most stupid answer. Wonder Woman got released in theaters, whereas Black Widow was released on Hotstar. And here's when you'll definitely wish to leave the video. But seriously, this small difference may cost Disney hundreds of dollars to compensate Scarlett Johansson for the lawsuit filed by her. Next thing being the humor setup of this movie. Well, comedy just always works good for Marvel. Be it the most childish joke Peter Parker has to ever make. What's truly appreciable in this movie is Natasha's sister, that is Elena Belova. Her acting, her action scenes, and her comedy. Well, all that is just remarkable. And that actress Florence Pugh just suits for the movie. And there's a relief because as we have a look at the post-credit scene of this movie, we see that Elena is surely looking forward to avenge her sister's death against Hawkeye. And I'm really excited for Hawkeye because it's gonna be but the amazing singer and future amazing actor Haley Steinfeld. Well, talking about the dialogues, there's only one dialogue in this movie which really grabs bold attention, and that would really be the main theme of this movie, which Natasha's mother keeps on telling her again and again. The dialogue being, "Pain only makes you stronger." Well, another one is really practical enough for the world, where Dreykov says about his evil motives. "It's my network of widows that help me control the scales of power. One command, the oil and stock markets crumble. One command and a quarter of the planet will starve. My widows can start and end wars. They can make and break kings." Hence, this is the technology this sci-fi production has brought with it. The technology to control the brains of any human being you'd want to. And to continue, there's another kind of an exciting scene from this movie, perhaps a location I'd say, where the Red Room is. And when Melina says that it's beyond our radars, and she actually means it to say that the Red Room is sort of a flying machine which is hidden in the sky between the clouds. And sometimes I really remember about the relationship between Missandei and Grey Worm, the head of the Unsullied in the Game of Thrones, when I see this scene where the Hulk, that is Bruce Banner and Natasha, are together. It seems very similar because in both the relations one of them is sterilized, and in both the cases the ladies have sacrificed their lives. And for another cause, I think this time Marvel finally realized how beautiful Earth is. I mean, for the first time its story just literally stayed ground to Earth and did not go traveling about the whole galaxy. Perhaps the movie starts in Ohio, then leads to Cuba, having a small part in Morocco and Norway, and finally ends in Budapest. Oh no, I'm really sorry, it's not Budapest. It's Budapest, as the lead of the story says.
What's all this junk?
Oh, just some mail and personals from the Budapest safe house.
Budapest?
Yeah, Budapest.
No, it's Budapest.
Budapest. Budapest.
Budapest.
And finally, as I said, I'd also be discussing the other MCU scenes where Natasha has been part of, and so here goes all the references. So the very first being Natasha's being deployed as an assassinator in the KGB after graduating from the Red Room. She later gets the chance to defect her organization and join S.H.I.E.L.D., which works on an overall different motive. Now, as she moves on her further missions, in one of the events, all of her vicious former past gets revealed, and she now is an international fugitive on the run. And finally, she's in the Avengers, where her major missions are. She's been the guard of Mr. Tony Stark, Iron Man of course. Well, at the other time, she's been on the Severe from the alien attacks on the Earth. And finally, the last but definitely not the least, she's also been the part of the time travel team of the Avengers Endgame, where unfortunately she had to sacrifice her life for having the Soul Stone and saving the world from Thanos. Well, sadly her life ends here, but definitely not her story. I mean, as I said about the revenge thing, her sister is planning against Hawkeye. So that's it from this video. Do let me know what other movies do I review or make a recap video of, and suggestions and discussions are always welcome in the comment section. Well, goodbye for right now and stay awaited for my next video.